I see a lot of familiar names here. Dave Bonney, Dean Thibault. By the way, Dean, thank you for that referral. Jonathan Wilcox, Michael Fascino with his gang, Randy Lewis, a lot of folks. I don't want to mention all the last names here. I don't want to embarrass anybody, embarrass myself. So we're going to get going with this webinar. Let me get the technology working. There we go. So make sure, please, you take lots of notes. It's going to be a very high content program. I wish we could cover everything that I have to say around this topic. I can't, but we're definitely going to have a lot of great content. And please, if you like a slide, take a pic. No, not a selfie. Take a picture of the screen. There'll be some slides that'll come up where you see this little icon in the top right where I recommend you actually take a photo or a screen capture, a screen grab. Please stay focused. Be careful about getting distracted. Yes, we are recording this. We will make the recording available. I know some of you said you can't stay on the whole time. You'll be able to get the recording. You'll be able to fast forward it to wherever you were. Some of us are old enough to remember when we actually used tape to record things. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and type them in now to the question box. Or there's my email address. Certainly, if you have a question later that comes up, I'm very accessible. And then most of you are subscribers to our Referral Minute. You get our Thursday tips. But for those of you who are new to my world and not on our tips, every Thursday we come out with some very high content tips, and just go to referralminute.com and you'll be able to get it from there. So I want to jump into the content as quickly as I can here. I want to give you a little context. We're going to do a deep dive into the value proposition for sure, but I want to give you a little context here. Some of you are familiar with this. Some of you are new to my world. The Referral Advantage program, 3 words basically that will create a lot of value for you and be able to create a lot of referrals, and that is the concept of engagement, leverage, and connection. We create referability through the way we engage with our prospects and our clients. Then we leverage that. We're appropriately proactive. We get connected. We to a new prospect. We get introduced, and then we create that engagement. And then what happens? Well, we become more referable with those new folks, and it just keeps going. Unlimited flow of high-quality clients. So what do I mean by engagement? They're connected with your value. They like the questions you ask. They like the things you teach. They like your initial process. And they kind of like you. Now, you don't have to be best friends necessarily with prospects, but certainly that they have to like you, they have to trust you, feel good about you, have to be comfortable with you. And so everything we do moving forward has to hit on both levels. And how you talk about your value as we get into this will help you connect on these levels of value and who you are as an individual. So there are 3 basic places for creating super referability, if you will. There's the initial prospect experience. Is your initial prospect experience from the minute you send somebody an email or you answer the phone or whatever that looks like for you, answer an inquiry, are you becoming referable? Are you attending to not only bringing them into your world, and if it's a win-win, creating the sale, are you doing it in a way that makes you more referable so that you can get referrals without asking? I suspect most of the folks on this call have gotten referrals without asking. And that's great. That counts. We should all be getting those. And part of it has to do with the great process you bring in, right? So we've covered this in past webinars. We'll continue to cover it in future webinars. The new client experience, having an onboarding experience, making sure that people feel onboarded into your family. What does that look like? Well, sometimes it has to do with something you send them. If you deliver an insurance policy or a plan, that's part of your onboarding process, right? So for insurance folks on the phone, there's a lot of insurance folks on the phone, and I hope you do your policies in person in most cases because that's part of the onboarding process. You have back office people who may not meet your clients generally speaking. Have them send a note, have them make a phone call, send a little gift. I just did some business, a new client, and I'm sending a little thank you. I like to go on Amazon .com, and first of all, I go to LinkedIn and I look where they went to school. If they went to college, I get something from the university. I send coasters with their university logo or a mug with just a little something. It's very inexpensive, and it's all part of that client experience, that onboarding experience. And then the ongoing client experience, right? You want to make sure that you have that client service model in place, that client service plan. We've talked about it on past webinars. We'll talk about it on future webinars about how you serve people ongoing. That creates this incredible level of referability. So you've got to be super referable. Then, of course, you've got to be appropriately proactive, and there's a couple ways you're proactive, right? One is you're promoting referrals, planting seeds. Many of you are familiar with the expression I've taught for years, don't keep me a secret. It's the title of one of my books, right? Don't keep us a secret. Don't keep the important work we do a secret. Never too busy to be a resource for other people you care about. Teaching people how you handle referrals. We'll promote referrals, help you get referrals without even asking. And then the other way, of course, you get proactive, excuse me, is that you ask for referrals without begging, without pushing. Just love this dog, right? And that's where, of course, our VIPS method comes into play, where we're using the VIPS method to ask for referrals. So we're not pushing, we're not begging. And then we got to get connected, right? We got to get connected to this new prospect. A lot of ways to get connected. The primary aspect of getting connected is we want it to feel safe and effective, right? When FDA approves a drug for the marketplace, is the drug safe? Is it effective? Well, that's what we want for an introduction, right? We want people to feel comfortable, and we want it to be effective, right? We want to get their attention. So one of the languages, some useful language you might consider is, may we craft, or let's craft an approach for you to introduce me to your sister in a way that will feel comfortable to everyone. Right, let's talk about how you introduced me to George. First of all, I want it to feel comfortable for you, for him, and obviously I'd like to pique his interest in hearing from me, so let's talk about that. And then we create that introduction, which is so important. Having social ways of connecting with people, whether you do client appreciation events, social event marketing, we've covered that in past webinars. We'll do it again in future webinars. And by the way, if there's any topic you'd really like to see us cover in a webinar, shoot me an email. Shoot it to Bill Cates at referralcoach.com. Anything about client acquisition, if I feel I can put a good high content process together, I'll certainly do that for you guys. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I went backwards. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. Then you got to receive referrals in the right way. Now, this is something I don't talk about a lot. I haven't covered it lately in a webinar, so let's cover it here real quickly, and then you're going to see how it leads into this value conversation that you signed up to get. Right. So first of all, you want to create referral trust. You want to treat the request with royalty. That's the first T. Right. With this prospect, whether they become a client or not, they have to see your value. They have to make sure they report back to the prospect or the referral source in a good way. Respond to referrals quickly. Referrals have a short shelf life. Update your referral source. Keep them in the loop. Say thank you to your referral source. Say thank you to them with a little something, a handwritten note minimum, and then get your new client to thank the old client. That's the last T. Get the new client to thank the old client. And how you receive the referrals you get makes a big difference in whether you're going to get more referrals or not. So let's go ahead and get into this value proposition, because that's all in how you reach out to your new prospect. You have a referral. You're going to send them an email. You're going to leave them a voicemail, because most of the time they don't pick up the phone right away. Maybe you're going to sit down with them in person. In some way or another, you have to make sure that you have a client value proposition in a way that people see the value. So in some cases, it's reaching out to the prospect at a networking event, how you talk about your value. When people say, what do? Do you have a way to respond? Social gatherings, your website, your social media profile, your LinkedIn profile, when you email someone, text someone. So everything we're going to talk about here really relates to having a compelling, right? I used to call this authentic value proposition. I still call it that. We want it to be authentic, but what we really want is we want it to be compelling. What does compelling mean? It means moving someone to action, right? We want to make sure we move it to action. So I'm getting a few questions here. I'm just going to kind of look at as I go through here. Let's see. Someone wasn't happy that we started a couple minutes late. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes it's technological issues. So there's no question that your compelling value proposition is fundamental to your business, right? How you talk about your value will determine whether people respond to you, whether they do business with you. If you aren't getting enough people to call you back when you leave a message, if you aren't getting enough people to respond to a LinkedIn inquiry or when you send someone an email, then you haven't created a compelling reason for them to reach out, right? We've got to make sure that there's a compelling reason for that. Also, how you talk about the work you do really makes a big difference in how your clients will talk about the work you do, right? So this value proposition is how you reach out to people and how people will talk about you to others. So I just had a question about the how you receive the referrals. I went a little quickly. Sorry about that. So real quick, T stands for treat the new prospect like royalty. R stands for respond quickly, right? Referrals have a short shelf life. U stands for update your referral source, keep them in the loop. S stands for say thank you for the referrals you get. And the last T stands for get your new client to thank the new client. So I hope you got that, and you will be getting the recording. All right, so let's talk about your compelling value proposition, which is fundamental to your business. So all the work that I'm about to cover here is inspired by the work of Leo Pusateri. Now, I've put my stamp on it. I've made some adjustments based on the things that I like to talk about related to meeting people through referrals, because that's our focus here. But if you're a financial professional, and many people on the call are, I do recommend you check out PusateriConsulting.com, because Leo really has it nailed down when it comes to financial professionals, talking about your value, pricing your value, etc. So here's some of the critical questions that we're going to talk about, and you want to have the answers to. What do you do? Obviously, at a networking event, at a social event, people can say, what do you do, right? So you better have a good, succinct, clear answer to that. How do you do it? You also want to be able to talk to people about how you do it. In some cases, you want to make sure you show people who you serve the best. The work you do isn't appropriate for everybody. If you're a veteran, you want to certainly start to qualify a little bit more. So you want to make sure you talk about that. You want to make sure you talk in a benefit-oriented way, how your clients benefit from the work you do. And so many people confuse still features with benefits. What makes you a little bit different, a little bit distinctive? Is anyone going to be really unique? Hard to be unique, but it's okay to be a little distinctive, right? A little bit different. And then why you do what you do is really the magic bullet, if you will, here on how you talk about your value, because that helps you become distinctive, because your why is different going to be my why, and it's going to be different than someone else's why. And then why you're right for me. Some people make the case that being different, being distinctive is a little bit overrated. What your prospects want to know, they may not really care why you're different. What they really want to know is why you're right for me, right? That's what they really care about. So that's part of your value proposition. That's the ultimate part of your value proposition once you get to know someone a little bit, right? You can't say that you're right for them if you don't know them. So what we have time for today in this short webinar are these four. These are the ones I want to focus on, and we're actually going to hit some of the others in this process. You'll see that how we hit the others a little bit. So let me just look at questions real quick and see if there's anything coming through. The photo button doesn't take a photo of the slide. Sorry, the photo button is just telling to you, pick up your cell phone, your smartphone, pick up your tablet, and take a picture of that slide. Or do a screen capture, right? Every computer is a little different. If you have a PC, it's Control-Alt print screen. We'll do a screen capture, all right? So that's what we have time for today, and I can tell you that your brain is going to hurt a little bit here. You're going to need some aspirin before we're done, because getting to think about your value proposition is not an easy thing, right? And so don't be surprised if your brain starts to hurt a little bit. Now, obviously, if you're going to talk about your value, you have to make sure you're clear on what your value is, right? And so what's the best way to be clear on your value? Well, first of all, one thing you want to do, if you haven't done this recently, is you want to go through every aspect of your process. From the minute you talk to a prospect or email a prospect, or they reach out to you, or someone in your office answers the phone, to the point where they become a client and beyond. Go through every single part of your process to make sure that you know all those points of value. What are some of the questions you ask that create value? What are some things you teach that create value? Who are some of the resources you refer your prospects and clients to that create value? And this will help you get really clear on what that value is so you can articulate it better. And then you want to talk to your clients. Most people, when they're writing website copy, they're writing LinkedIn copy, they're thinking about the email they want to send to prospects, they do it in a vacuum. Your clients are the people who are ideal to help you come up with this copy. And these are just some of the questions. I'll let you kind of look at these as I talk a little bit, but these are the questions you want to be asking. Sit down with some of your clients, sit down with the clients who love you, sit down with some of the clients who maybe have a marketing mindset, they're in sales, they're in marketing, they're a business owner, and they can help think through this a little bit, right? You know, how has the work we've done impacted you? If you were to introduce me to a friend, a colleague, what would you say, right? You know, if asked, why do you do business with me? What would you say? And this will help you. So let me give you a specific example. I had a client of mine, Michael Schmitz, out in San Mateo, California, said to me, he says, Bill, you make asking for referrals as natural as breathing. That's great. I never would have thought of saying that. My client came up with that. And now, of course, I use it on my website in different places with quotes, right? Michael Schmitz says Bill Cates makes asking for referrals as natural as breathing. So we know that our clients can give us phrases, give us ways of saying things that we wouldn't think about, and it's in their language. It's in the way they think, not the way we think in our jargon. All right, so very important. Now, your CVP, your compelling value proposition has to have certain elements, and not everything you say is going to have every element, but you make sure that this stuff is in your value proposition. Most of the time, it's got to be very concise. The only time it might not be concise is you're telling your story, a little bit about your why. It's got to be clear. We talk in a lot of jargon. We don't even realize we're talking in jargon. Conversational, right? You're not writing a term paper for your English class. This is conversational, short sentences, simple words. It's got to be benefit focused. We got to make sure we bring the benefits in. And you'll see as I give you some examples how this plays out. Don't worry, I'm going to give you very specific examples. It conveys emotion, right? Make sure that we've conveyed emotion. This is why people make a decision to work with you. This is why people make a decision to refer you to others. It's emotional. Now, for the financial professionals on the call, which is a lot of you, because you're dealing with people's money, that's almost automatically emotional, right? And so sometimes it's built into the work you do. And then we want to make sure we cite examples. Now, again, some folks on this webinar can cite specific examples with the actual results you've produced for people. Some people have to be a little more vague around this because you can't promise a certain result. Nonetheless, you want to make sure you cite examples. So let's see, on my computer, a screen print is created on my desktop when I click on the camera icon. Then I open the print screen from my desktop. Okay, perfect. So thank you. Where is, did I get rid of that? Okay. All right, guys, let's keep going. Thank you very much. So what do you do? All right, here's a simple formula. You're going to love this and incorporates a lot. A lot of this can be incorporated into one or two simple sentences. Here we go. I work with blank who want to blank, right? I work with business owners. I work with professionals. I work with couples. I work with teenagers. I work with retired individuals. I work with whatever. You can have a couple. I work with small business owners and professionals. I'll give you some examples in a minute. Who want to? Well, this is where the benefit comes in because they want to do something, do they not? They want to be clear and confident around their finances. They want to make sure they don't run out of money. They want to make sure that all their risks, right, the risk to their home and their automobile are covered, right? People have a want to. We'll talk more about this in a minute, but they actually have a gap. There's a gap between where they are and where they want to be, and they want to close that gap. So what is that? And that's benefit oriented. So when you talk about who who want to, you're starting to bring the benefits and the emotions into that, and then there's a for example. So let me give you one from my world, and then I'll give you a hypothetical one from the world of financial, because we have a lot of financial folks on the call. So we work with professionals and businesses, so you can have a couple there, who want to acquire more high-level clients through referrals and personal introductions, and with their leaders who want to build a lasting and highly profitable referral culture. So you see I used two on the front, who work with, we work with, and who want to, and there's two goals there, right? For example, right, and here's an example. We helped a small firm in Canada use our system to go from 100 clients to 250 clients in 1 year. Second year, they added another 150 clients, et cetera, et cetera. So this is very specific, and you see the emotion. People want to, or the benefit at least, they want to acquire more clients, and they want to do it in a profitable way. So when you're talking about money, you're also talking about the emotion. So because most of the folks on the call here are financial professionals in some way, shape, or form, I'm going to use financial examples. So I work with people who want to maximize their investments and minimize their financial risk to be able to retire with confidence that they won't run out of money, right? Now, you're going to have to take this formula and apply it to your world, of course, and your words, but this gives you an example how you take that formula and apply it to your world. For example, now we have the site examples, right? Just yesterday, I was sitting in front of a client couple who couldn't thank me enough for the clarity I helped them gain. Benefit, clarity I helped them gain, and that's also emotional, right? Related to their financial situation, along with the discipline they knew they needed to achieve their goals. So now we're hitting on the levels of value, we're hitting the levels of who we are. Our clients couldn't thank us enough for this. You see how all the wording here hits on the emotional, hits on the value, hits on who we are as an individual, right? So I'm just going to pause for a second. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to look and see if there's any questions where you can I'm just going to be quiet for a second and you think about this. What would you say? I work with who want to. What does that look like for you? Being asked, will this be a replay? Yes, it will be available for replay. We don't share the deck per se, but yes, you will get the replay. And if you guys know I'm available, I'm happy to help you. And I can't seem to. There we go. Okay, some of you are on the phone. I appreciate this. Is this the same as an elevator speech? Well, sort of. The elevator speech, of course, is that short way to talk about what you do. I would say this is the first half. This is the first half, what you do. And then the second half of this elevator speech is the next thing we're about to cover. And sometimes I'm asked, can you have more than one compelling value proposition? Well, of course you can, right? And sometimes you want to, depending on the markets, the targets of your business, and then you tailor how you talk about what you do to those people. So for instance, let's say you're at a networking event where there's a lot of business owners here. Well, we work with business owners, right? If you're at a social event, you may say we work with business owners and individuals, or vice versa. So yeah, you definitely tailor this to who you're working with. Now back to this elevator pitch. So what do you do? And how do you do it? This is kind of the elevator pitch, if you will. This is the short 20 to 30 second maximum. If you think about it, even 30 seconds is a long time for you to talk about what you do. So that's why I said concise, right? If you say, I work with who want to, period, we do this by, let me give you the formula, right? We do this by, and then you have for an example, that's going to take about 20 seconds, and that's about as far as you want to go before you ask them what they do in some cases. Especially if it's a networking event. So now I'm giving you examples, or where you can cite examples with each one. I'm not saying you're going to cite examples with each one. You may not say, here's what we do, example. Here's how we do it, example. You may do example on the front end, on the back end. You could, here's what we do, here's how we do it, for example. So there's a lot of freedom in this, but I think you can see these questions will really help you come up with the answer very quickly, right? We help individuals and businesses who want to acquire more clients through referrals and personal introductions. Using our Referral Advantage program, our clients increase engagement with their clients, and then leverage that engagement into more high-level sales. It's a simple process that works to create a perpetual flow of clients. Benefit, benefit, benefit. For example, and here's a specific benefit where an insurance company was able to drop a $450,000 a year call center, right? And sales stayed steady, right? So we saved them $500,000. Now, there are some folks on the call that can't promise a certain result. I get that. And the more specific you can be, that you're allowed to be, the better. What do? We do this. We help, we work with people who want to do this. How do we do it? We do it this way, right? And we have an example. So let me give you a hypothetical financial situation. Somebody wants to take the colored screen so I can, we're going to come back with a colored screen in a minute. So don't worry about that. We will definitely hit the colored screen again. So first, financial. First, we go through a comprehensive process to get to know our clients, to make sure a plan is in place that's perfectly tailored to their situation. I know we have some property casualty folks on the call, right? We work a little different. Somebody calls in for a quote, right? Somebody calls in, they want to quote their new car or they're buying a home. You say, well, I'll be happy to do that. And we work a little differently here. We have a very specific process we like to go through. It doesn't take very long to make sure you get the absolutely right policy plan for you at the best possible cost, all right? So to do that, I have a few questions to ask you, right? You just don't quote the rate. You have a process to do that. And that way you're going to be able to bring more value from the very beginning, and you're going to be more referable from the very beginning, and you're not just doing a transactional business. Right? For example, one of my longtime clients referred me to a sister. What are we doing there? We're planting the seed, the fact that we work on referrals. So whenever you cite examples, if you can say, I was working with a client yesterday, referred to me by his sister, referred to me by his brother, referred to me by business partner, right? Don't hesitate to, as you cite examples, to mention introduced to me, referred to me, right? She was woefully underinsured, setting her family up for problems down the road. Emotional, setting her family up for problems down the road, right? So person asked a question, sorry, I can't always see the names, Paul, thank you. Can this be adjusted depending on the person you're talking to? Absolutely. In fact, you want it to be adjusted depending on the person you're talking to. If the more you know about that person, the more you adjust it. And if you're working from referrals and you ask your referral source, tell me more about your sister, tell me more about your brother, help me understand their situation a little bit, Now you can tailor this compelling value proposition to their world. It becomes even more compelling, right? A tailored value proposition is much more compelling than something that's generic. We start with generic, we have the basis of generic, but then we tailor it as much as possible, right? Would you use this language on your first phone call to a referral? Absolutely. Again, the more you know about this person, the more you will then tailor that. Right? So if you know that person's a business owner, you'll say, George, I know you're a business owner, and our specialty is working with business owners who want to, whatever they want to do. We work with business owners who want to. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't work with other people, but you do work with business owners if George is a business owner, okay? So how do you do it? I want to just stop and give you a second. I'm going to take a sip of water, see if there's any questions, to think through what would you say here, right? I work with who want to. I do this by. Now, obviously, if I was doing a workshop, then we'd have time to go through this and do all kinds of discussion on this, but I'm at least giving you a chance to hopefully think about this. Now, I forgot to mention this, but I did send you some reminders that hopefully everyone got the authentic value proposition worksheet that came with the handout. I believe in your dashboard there's a way to open up and download and print out the worksheet that came with this, because there's a few things we won't be able to cover that's in the worksheet, and you can go deeper by looking through that. All right, so you wanted the color slide. Here it is in a little bit of a slightly different form, right? So we've talked about what you do. We've talked about how you do it. What's coming up is what makes you distinctive, what makes you a little bit different, a little bit unique in the marketplace. That's an important question, by the way, for a center of influence. If you have a CPA, an attorney, a small business owner, someone's networked in your community, in your industry, they definitely need to know what makes you a little bit different, right? What makes you different than all the other folks calling on me to try to get referrals from me, right? And then why you do what you do, which is really the superpower that you have, if you will. But first, the reason we can make this free is because I talk a little bit about one of the tools that we have. So just give me about 2 minutes, 3 max, and to tell you a little bit about one of our tools, and then we'll get back into these topics of what makes you distinctive and why you do what you do. So you're at a crossroads. We're always at a crossroads when we learn things, is to get new habits or stick with our old habits, right? And the old adage is, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten. I think the truth is, if you keep doing what you've always done, you might not even get what you've always gotten. Why? Because everything's changing, right? And so we do have a great tool. A few of you on here are already subscribers to this. We call this the Rapid Fire Referrals. Our clients actually named it the Habit Maker. And this is just a great tool for you to really create the habits of referrals that you want. So real quick, on Monday you receive an email linking you to a micro lesson. It's a short video, 1.5 to 2.5 minutes, along with an audio that you could download and the word tracks you can print out if you want. And then on Wednesday you receive another very short video lesson. And then over time these populate in a dashboard, and these are accessible on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your computer. Very short lessons that will keep this top of mind awareness and make referrals and introductions a habit. I mean, here are the topics that we cover. We talk about the value, so this is sprinkled out, this value proposition. So we'd be reminded of some of the things we're talking about here today. We teach about how to get more referable, super referable, right? About getting referrals without asking. How do you do that? Referrals without pushing, right? How do you turn a referral into an introduction? Getting referrals from centers of influence, maximizing social event marketing, optimizing LinkedIn for more referrals, turning introductions into an appointment, because how you turn an introduction into an appointment is critical. It makes sure you leverage the full power of the referral, and converting prospects into new clients. So over a course of a year, it's 104 videos over the course of a year, but very short, very easy to consume. All right, that's important, that you're not going to be overwhelmed. So we usually sell it for $197 on our website, but today, if you go today, then you can get it for $97. That's less than $1 per lesson, and all you got to do is go to referralcoach.com, rapid fire referrals, right? referralcoach.com/rapid-fire-referrals. This will recur on the slides below, so you'll be able to see this, and just use the promo code capital RFR 100, and you will save that $100. I'll remind you this a little bit later. We do have a brand new report, by the way, that I did with Claire Aiken around using LinkedIn. It's about a 10-page report of how to maximize LinkedIn for referrals. And so you subscribe to Rapid Fire Referrals today, and you'll get this report as well. So I told you, about 2 minutes. That's about all it was, right? What makes you distinctive? What makes you a little bit different, right? Maybe not unique, but at least a little bit different. By the way, we got a question coming up, so let me just answer that as we can. Do you recommend Rapid Fire as the best resource to introduce new professionals to referral system? Yeah, I think it's a great way because it's simple, it's easy to consume. I know we have some property casualty folks. I've got a number of State Farm agents who are, high-level agents who are using it for their team, right? So every Monday or Wednesday have a quick little 10-minute referral lesson, and they're keeping a top-of-mind awareness, right? So thank you for that question. So let's get into the formula here, right? So your sources for your differentiation could be your initial process. Maybe you have a process that's a little bit different than anyone else. Maybe use LEAP if you're in life insurance or financial profiles, or you have a very specific planning process. That could be what makes you a little bit different. It could be your customer or client service promise. How you stay in touch with people could be a little bit different. Could be years of experience. It could be a special expertise that you have working with special need families, perhaps. The why you do what you do could be part of what makes you a little bit different. So it could be something that happened to you specifically, right? I've had a lot of folks tell me of incredible experiences that have happened to them, and that's why they're in this business. That's why they're passionate about it. This is where the who you are really comes through. You know, the questions you ask, your initial process that teaches and asks good questions, while they get a sense of who you are a little bit, that's mostly a value-oriented part of the equation. But when you talk about who you are, that's where you really connect on the level of the heart and who you are as an individual. And so again, a formula, very simple formula here. You know, one thing that makes us a little different, or a couple of things that makes us a little different is and then you adjust. I usually have a couple of things I talk about that makes me a little bit different, makes our process a little bit different. For example, right? One thing that makes us a little bit different is that in addition to helping our clients get more referrals, we also help them turn those referrals into introductions, set appointments, and ultimately gain new clients. So I know my competitors out there. I know my other folks who teach referral process. And most people, they just stop with the referrals. But we go the whole way because the referral is worthless, right? Unless we get introduced, unless we get connected, unless we create an appointment, unless we make the sale so we get into sales skills, and unless we talk about our value in a compelling way, right? So ours is a much more comprehensive approach than what most people do. And then, for example, when you apply our referral advantage marketing system, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the way to apply the formula. All right, let's put it into a financial example. One thing that makes us a little different is that our expertise is in helping small business owners like yourself maximize your opportunities to put away tax-deferred income and protect against unexpected interruptions to the smooth flow of your business. That's one of many, many ways you can talk about what makes you a little bit different. Obviously, that applies to some people on the call, but not everybody. So you have to say one thing that makes us a little different is this. You know, people struggle in this business to talk about what makes you different. It shouldn't be a struggle. This is all you have to do. One thing that's a little bit different, one thing that makes us a little bit different than the others. Now, you can't just use platitudes. You can't say one thing that makes us different is we really care about our clients. If everyone else can say it, then it doesn't make you different. Now, it's hard to find something that's totally unique that no one else can say, but if you're going to talk about the fact that you bring great service to your clients or that you really care about your clients, first of all, those are platitudes. I don't recommend, you can say them, but it's not going to differentiate you. The way you use a platitude, like how you serve your clients or how you care about your clients, the only way to make that a real differentiator is to bring it to life with an example. Let me give you an example. And so we really care about our clients. I know everybody says that. Let me give you a specific example of one of my team members. And then you tell them, you brag on one of your team members of how he or she went out of their way to help a client. Now you can start to use that as a differentiator, but generally that's a platitude. In this particular case, you see that we're speaking to a small business owner. So therefore, we're going to tailor it to them. We work with small business owners, right? I hope this is making sense to you. I know that this is making your brain hurt, right? This is not an easy thing. It takes time to make this happen, all right? So that's a hypothetical example on that. What makes you distinctive? Let me just check and see if we have any questions. I want you to think through this. One thing that makes us a little different is. All right, I hope you have an answer for that. If you don't, I know there are a lot of you are in groups and in conference rooms right now doing lunch and learns or whatever. So make sure you stop afterwards and talk through this a little bit and reinforce this down the road because this is important. For example, and then when you give the for example, now you really bring it to life. If you really want to touch the heart of someone else and the emotional part that helps people trust you and like you and see your value and want to do business with you, it's always good to have examples, right? Very, very important. So here's a question. Is it reasonable to differentiate from substitute service providers, or do we always differentiate from competitors? No, I think it could be either. I don't think it has to be one or the other. Yeah, I think you have to take your world and you know what's in the head of your prospects. You know who you're competing with. You know what? You and our competition isn't always competition. Sometimes it is, right? Someone shopping around for rates for the car or something. Yeah, I get that. sometimes our competition, our biggest obstacle is their own personal inertia, right? And sometimes how we talk about what we do, that's why it's got to be compelling, because it's got to compel them to take action. It's got to compel them out of their inertia, right? So that's one of the biggest competitors and obstacles that you and I face. Hey, let me click the right thing. By the way, if you're kind of liking this, and we know this is a lot to cover in a very short period of time, and you want to bring me in, would love to come and speak to your group, whether it's a large conference. These are some of the topics we talk about. You're getting familiar with me. Workshop, convention, you name it. I love it. That's how I met a lot of you who are on this call. We do have another webinar coming up, by the way. It's free, and it's about attracting and retaining affluent women. Go ahead and copy down that URL. It's a little complicated. We haven't set this up on our website page yet. But if you're a subscriber to the Referral Minute, then you'll be getting a notice on this. But this is the date. It's Thursday, June 16th at 4 o'clock Eastern. So we have a question come in here. See why you're writing that down. For example, my direct competition is Vistage, but also compete against other coaches in Chamber of Commerce. So, okay, so if I were you, I'd say, let me tell you something makes us a little bit different from other coaches and other coaches is this. And then there's also, or let's see, I'm trying to think of how you would say this, but what makes us a little different than coaches and other CEO brainstorming groups or CEO peer groups, right? What makes us a little different than other coaches and consultants, or makes us different than coaches and other peer groups. So you'll have to figure out what that is. You could start with coaches, and then if you find out, you say, by the way, are you a member of any, CEO groups and networking peer groups? Oh yeah. Well, and let me tell you what makes us a little bit different than that. Who are you with? This, okay, let me tell you a little bit different, right? Okay, Bill, Michael, yeah, the pivot, when you mentioned when someone calls for an auto quote. Sure, and you're welcome. So the pivot, it goes something like this. Someone's calling, they bought a new car. I like to quote our new car, I just bought a Charger for my daughter or whatever. Yeah, happy to do that. And the way we do things is a little bit different here. Well, I'll definitely give you the quote, promise. And to make sure that you get the exact perfect policy for you, for your daughter, at the best possible price, I do have some key questions I need to ask you. So you got to gain that permission to ask questions, because most people, especially in the P&C world, they're just quoting rates, right? And so, a price conversation turns into a price decision. And if you happen to be better in that area, that part of the woods, than zip code that you're in, then okay, maybe you're very competitive price-wise. But if you can bring more value, and you're a little bit more than the other quote, but they really like the value that you're bringing to that phone call, they're going to go with you, right? The other guy didn't ask me those questions. The other gal didn't teach me those things. That's how you pivot. We do it just a little bit differently here, right? I got that from Bill Whitley, by the way. I want to give Bill Whitley credit for that. So why do you do what you do? This is so critical that we have a good way of talking about our why, because this is really what attracts people. So it could be why you got started in the business, could be why you're still in the business, why you're with the firm you're with now, especially if you made a switch. Could be something that happened to you. Let me give you an example. So Carol, I won't give her last name out on the webinar, but we were doing a webinar for NAFA, California. This was last fall, and talking about this why, talking about why you do what you do. And she sent me an email not too long after and said, Bill, I've been using the personal why, and I've been in business for 12 years, and I've gotten 8 unsolicited referrals from prospects in the last 2 days. 8 unsolicited referrals from prospects. And I called her up and we talked. I actually recorded it. And so she told me what happened. So she and her husband got some bad financial advice. They lost a lot of money. It was tough for a while. They finally got back on their feet, made some better decisions. She got into the world of being a financial professional, and she tells a little bit of that story to her prospects. Doesn't wait for them to be clients. She tells them to the prospect, and she says, and my goal, what drives me in this business, is to make sure that or anything like that never happens to you, or never happens to any one of my clients. And that why is what creates that heart connection. That's what makes a difference. People need to feel your passion. They need to feel the caring of the work you do. It can't feel robotic to them. the questions you ask, as I mentioned earlier, provide value. The things you teach provide value. The literature you give them provide value. The other resources that you connect them to provide value. But they also going to have a sense of who is this person, right? Especially if you handle investments, right? If I'm going to give you 100,000, 250,000, a million of my money to deal with, right? Who are you? And this is where that comes out. Now, whenever I do a program, I did a couple of speeches last week. And I always ask, how many of you talk about your value, your why now? And usually a smattering of hands go up. And then I ask people in the audience, I say, do people listen differently when you talk about your why? And every head's nodding up and down. People listen differently because there's usually a little story here. So you saw my little thing earlier about concise, short. This is the one place where you're not so concise, but it's okay because you're telling a little story and people listen to story differently. You're not doing therapy in front of them, right? You've recovered from whatever thing that may have happened to you. And you can have multiple whys. There can be a lot of different whys you do what you do. But so let me just give you an example, and then I want to talk a little bit about this concept of a gap. So let me tell you a little bit about why I do what I do. By the way, very few people are going to ask you your why. Some people will. Why are you in business? Why are you with this firm? But in most cases, this is something you're going to have to insert into the conversation, and you do it with prospects. You do not wait for the prospect to become a client, because this is going to help you win them as a client, and it's going to help your referability very quickly in this new relationship. Most businesses provide great value to their clients, but often struggle with finding new clients. There's a gap between where they are and where they'd like to be when it comes to attracting new clients. Sometimes it's a quantity issue, sometimes it's a quality issue, and sometimes it's both. Can you guys relate? Yeah, of course you can, because you're my audience. I devoted the last quarter century, now I'm aging myself, right? I devoted the last quarter century to my life helping professionals and business owners find more people to serve through the important work that we do. Because I believe in the work that my clients do, I find extremely rewarding to help them learn and grow so they can bring financial dignity to the lives of their clients, right? That's our why. And as you can see, that how I talk about that's going to be different than how I talk about what we do and how we do it. It's a different part of the brain that it comes from and goes into, right? All right, so what does that look like for you guys? Well, every business, right? I don't care what business you're in, every prospect that you're in front of has a gap, right? Related to the work you do. There's a gap between where they are and where they'd like to be. And your business is closing that gap. Personally, I like the word gap because if you're on the phone or even in writing, the gap creates a sense of a visual, right? There's a visual when you say there's a gap. A friend of mine, Alan Dobzhinsky, he's a consultant. He has a process, he calls it the Grand Canyon. And he's talking about a gap between where his clients are and where they want to be. And so when you put it in those terms, quite often that's very compelling for these folks. You don't have to use that word. It's just a good word to consider, right? So let me tell you a little bit about why I do what I do. So there's a so here's the transition. I'm giving you some of the language in the transition. So that's a little bit about what we do and how we do it. I'd like to shift gears for a minute and tell you why I do what I do, why I love this work. I found that most people, even very smart and successful people like yourself, there's a gap between where they are and where they'd like to be in terms of clarity and confidence with regard to their financial future. Most people have not saved properly for retirement, and most have significant gaps in their insurance planning. I derive a lot of pleasure in helping my clients close that gap so that they always feel clear and confident about their financial future. In a nutshell, I believe I bring financial dignity to the lives of my clients. Again, your words may be different, but I think you can get a sense of how you can passionately talk about the value. I mean, hopefully you do believe in the value of the work you do, right? That's critical. And so this and by the way, your handout that's part of this webinar has this language in it, okay? It's there. Most of this is in there. If you missed anything, you're going to get the recording. Shoot me a question. Happy to take an email from you, et cetera, et cetera. So why do you do what you do? Let me just pause, take a sip of water, see if there's a question. And so you can think just for a minute why you do what you do. What would your why be? And how would you make it succinct and clear? All right, so let's keep going. When we reveal our why, we give permission to our prospects and clients to do the same. Over time, we peel back the layers of their why. In this process, we serve them better and become super referable. Pretty wise person said that. Oh, that'd be me. Okay. A friend of mine calls me Billy Bob, so I'm having a little fun here. But when we talk about our why, we give our clients our permission to tell us their why they hold this particular type of insurance, why they've invested their money in this particular vehicle at this point in time, why they went with that company, whatever it is. And then there's, of course, there's layers of why behind that and behind that, right? And so over time, as we become a little bit self-revealing, it becomes easier for them to reveal. Now, some people reveal everything about their lives immediately. They talk too much. You learn more than you want to know. You learn things you don't even want to know about them, right? Other people, it takes a little more time for them to reveal their why, but that allows you to serve them better. So somebody wanted to get this slide again. Here it is. So we talked about all of those things. It's an authentic value proposition. We have to be authentic, but I've renamed it, right? It's got to be compelling. So it's got to be authentic. It's got to be natural. It's got to be genuine, and it has to move people to take action. If the way we talk about our value is not creating new clients, it's not getting people to return our email, our voicemail, we're not creating a compelling value proposition. This is something that takes a lot of work. We have to keep looking at this on a regular basis, right? If you like the stuff we're talking about here, please sign up for Rapid Fire Referrals. Make sure you use the promo code RFR100 and you'll save $100. It's another way for us to stay in touch. I give you all the word tracks. You can print them out, circle the words you like, copy, paste it into a Word file, massage it yourself, come up with your own word tracks. You can use it for small team training. You can download the audio to your smartphone, to your tablet. Over a whole year, I'll be giving you a tremendous amount of value. So let's see if we have any more questions. And you can just type them in the question box. Let's see. This is a question that's actually a little bit out of the topic, but not too bad. And that is asking for referrals. All right, this person wants to know, John. Okay, is it better to ask referrals in person? Can you do it over the phone? Can you do it in an email? Well, yeah, in person is always better. There's no question about that. You can do it via email, but it's a little tough to do it via email. I actually have a blog post that's going to be coming up. I think not this Thursday. I think maybe this Thursday. Yeah, actually this Thursday. For those of you who are subscribed to the Referral Minute, we actually talk about asking for referrals in an email, and so we'll go into a little more detail. The key is that you got to make sure you have the time if you're doing it on the phone. In an email, I think it's important that you have a good relationship, a strong relationship with that person, right? Any other questions coming in? Someone want to know about rapid fire referrals, how long the lessons are. Again, they're about 1.5 to 2.5 minutes. They're very short, but succinct, right? Another question, is there such a thing as calling a prospect too much within a short period of time? Well, you wouldn't have asked that question if you didn't think that the answer might be yes, and of course the answer is yes. So here's what I do, especially a referral prospect, because if that prospect was referred to you, you've got to make sure that every step, every encounter with you is a good one, because even if they don't become a client, their referral source is going to get feedback, right? So here's what I do. If I get referred to someone, I respond pretty quickly with it. I usually get introduced with email, so it's usually going to be an email, and I'm trying to set up a quick phone call. So I'll shoot an email. I'll wait 4 or 5 days, 6 days. I may call them, I may shoot another email, or I may try LinkedIn. I found sometimes if they don't respond to an email, they may respond to a LinkedIn and a message and vice versa. After a couple of messages, then I get back to the referral source and I say, hey, George, I called Laura a couple times, or I left her a couple messages, or I shot her a couple emails over the last 2 weeks. I haven't heard back. I know you said she was interested. What do we do next? What do we do next? Bring the referral source back into the equation as quickly as possible so they can help you figure out what to do. If you bug someone too much, that's what, not only are you going to probably turn them off, so even if they are interested, they're now no longer interested, but you're going to get negative feedback to your referral source. So you have to find a way to be appropriately persistent. One of the things that I do is I try to bring a little value each time I reach out to someone. So for instance, the first time I reach out, maybe just trying to schedule a phone call, but I might put a link to a report, or I might attach a report. I usually don't put an attachment on the first email because we know that sometimes people won't open an email with an attachment. But if their friend's name is in the subject line and they were already introduced to me, then it's usually a little safer. And then I was introduced to a mortgage company, and about 2 weeks, I had a meeting, in-person meeting, and about 2 weeks later, I followed up and I sent a couple of reports that I knew he would find valuable to distribute amongst his brokers. And he told me later that he really appreciated that added value. So if you're going to be professionally persistent, which I believe you should be, then you definitely want to try to keep bringing value as much as you can as you do that. Somebody appreciated the graphics in the webinar. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. David is saying, sorry, David, sometimes it's hard to. I referred you to Mrs. X. I gave her your number and she may call. Can't you give her number directly because of confidentiality? Let me see. I referred you to Mrs. X. I gave her your number and she may call. Can't you give her number directly because of confidentiality? You know, I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, David. I'm sorry, and we're about out of time. So just shoot this to me in an email, David. Bill Cates at referralcoach.com, and I'll answer it with a little more detail. And anybody who knows me knows that if I can't answer with an email, then I'll do it. You know, we'll hop on the phone. So what do you do if it's difficult to get people on the phone? Well, that's what this webinar is all about. This compelling value proposition is, first of all, the way to create the most compelling value proposition of all is to ask your referral source what's going on in their life, her life, their life, right? What's going on in their world that's most important to them, right? Now, if you find out what's most important to them in their life, in their business, in their family, whatever relates to your world, then when you make your value proposition about that, when you tie the work that you do to what's most important in their world, that's the most possible compelling value proposition you could possibly have, right? And when you're referred to someone, and then you shoot them an email, and, you know, George said that this is going on in your life, and, you know, we specialize with people who have this, and I think I might have a couple ideas for you to help you maximize your results, or what. I'm making this language up because it's hypothetical. That's more like an email that's going to get responded to, right? Emails, by the way, should be short, keep them very short, but you got to have, you know, a value proposition. So this is a nice little statement. I appreciate that because of the value you have given me over the 7-year course of my career, from producer to mentor to a leader. I am referring you to our National Training Program Director to invite as a guest speaker. Well, thank you for that. Oh, that's Jeffrey. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. We aim to please, right? Great job. Authenticity. Great. I appreciate that. Somebody had to leave because they're overworked. The promotion code is not working. I'm surprised, Craig. RFR 100. It should work. I tried it. I tested it out. You can shoot me an email. We'll make sure you get covered here. Bill Cates at referralcoach.com. I'll probably direct you to Jennifer, and she'll make sure you get the discount. We want to make sure that it works for everybody. So those are all the questions. Hey, guys, I hope you found this helpful. You know, what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. It's all about belief, guys. It's all about believing in the work you do. And when you believe in the work you do and that belief comes through, you have the beginnings and the essence of a powerful value proposition, right? So I hope this has lit a fire under you a little bit to talk about the value in a more compelling way. And you know I'm here for you. You know I'm here to answer your questions. We have the next webinar coming up on June 16th about attracting and acquiring and retaining affluent women, which is a huge niche in the market now. And we'll have another free webinar in July. Annette Bao, by the way, is going to be leading that webinar in June. I'll be on the call, but she'll be leading that about attracting and retaining affluent women. So thank you very much. I do appreciate that. Another question, I want to see what else you offer before buying this. Well, all you got to do, John, is go to our website and click on the store, and if you want to get on the phone and talk about it, we can do that. You know I'm available, happy to talk with you. Just shoot me an email, billcates@referralcoach.com. We'll schedule a call. Look, I want you to, if you invest in one of our tools, I want to make sure it's what's best for you. And sometimes I'll say, start with a book. Sometimes I'll say, start with our free newsletter, Referral Minute. Sometimes I'll say, it looks like you're a candidate for our Referral Coach Academy because you really want to immerse yourself in this. And so we have different tools for different individuals depending on their need and their situation and their budget. And I'd be happy to chat with you about John. Okay, you're welcome. Very good. All right, guys, I hope you found this helpful. Thank you very much.